Institutes of the Christian Religion by John Calvin, Book 1. Chapter 13, Section 5, Limits and Necessity of Theological Terms. If therefore these terms were not rashly invented, we ought to beware lest by repudiating them we be accused of overweening rashness. Indeed, I could wish they were buried, if only among all men this faith were agreed on, that Father and Son and Spirit are one God. Yet the Son is not the Father, nor the Spirit the Son, but that they are differentiated by a peculiar quality. Really, I am not, indeed, such a stickler as to battle doggedly over mere words. For I note that the ancients, who otherwise speak very reverently concerning these matters, agree neither among themselves, nor, even at all times, individually with themselves. What now are the formulas employed by the councils and excused by Hilary? With what great freedom does Augustine sometimes burst forth? How unlike are the Greeks and the Latins! But one example of the difference will suffice. When Latins wished to translate the word homoousios, they said consubstantial, indicating that the substance of the Father and the Son is one, thus employing substance instead of essence. Hence, likewise, Jerome, in a letter to Damasus, calls it a sacrilege to predicate three substances in God. Yet you will find more than 100 times in Hilary that there are three substances in God. But how confused is Jerome by the word hypostasis? For he suspects poison lurking when three hypostases in one God are mentioned. Even if one uses this word in a pious sense, he does not, nevertheless, hide the fact that it is an improper expression. This would be true even if he spoke sincerely, rather than tried willingly and knowingly to charge the Eastern bishops, whom he hates, with unjust calumnies. Surely he shows little candor in asserting that in all profane schools, ousia is nothing else but hypostasis, an opinion repeatedly refuted by common and well-worn usage. Augustine is more moderate and courteous, since even though he says that the word hypostasis in this sense is new to Latin ears, yet he leaves to the Greeks their manner of speaking, so much that he gently bears with the Latins who had imitated the Greek phrase. And what Socrates writes concerning hypostasis in Book 6 of the Tripartite History suggests that it was wrongly applied to this matter by unlearned men. But the same Hilary accuses the heretics of a great crime, that by their wickedness he is forced to submit to the peril of human speech what ought to have been locked within the sanctity of men's minds. And he does not hide the fact that this is to do things unlawful, to speak things inexpressible, to presume things not conceded. A little later he excuses himself at length for daring to put forward new terms, for when he has set forth the natural names, Father, Son, and Spirit, he adds that whatever is sought beside these is beyond the meaning of language, above the reach of sense, above the capacity of understanding. And elsewhere he pronounces the bishops of Gaul happy, because they had neither wrote out nor received nor known any other confession at all than the ancient and very simple one that had been received among all churches from the apostolic age. And Augustine's excuse is similar, on account of the poverty of human speech in so great a matter. The word hypostasis has been forced upon us by necessity, not to express what it is, but only not to be silent on how Father, Son, and Spirit are three. And this modesty of saintly men ought to warn us against forthwith so severely taking to task, like censors, those who do not wish to swear to the words conceived by us, provided they are not doing it out of either arrogance or frowardness or malicious craft. But let these very persons in turn weigh the necessity that compels us to speak thus, that gradually they may at length become accustomed to a useful manner of speaking. Also let them learn to beware, lest, when they have to resist Arians on one hand and Sabellians on the other, while indignant that the opportunity to evade the issue is cut off, they arouse some suspicion that they are disciples either of Arius or of Sabellius. Arius says that Christ is God, but mutters that he was made and had a beginning. He says that Christ is one with the Father, but secretly whispers in the ears of his own partisans that he is united to the Father like other believers, although by a singular privilege. Say, consubstantial, and you will tear off the mask of this turncoat, and yet you add nothing to Scripture. Sabellius says that Father, Son, and Spirit signify no distinctions in God. Say there are three, and he will scream that you are naming three gods. Say that in the one essence of God there is a trinity of persons. You will say in one word what Scripture states, and cut short empty talkativeness. Indeed, if anxious superstition so constrains anyone that he cannot bear these terms, yet no one could now deny, even if he were to burst, that when we hear one, we ought to understand unity of substance. When we hear three in one essence, the persons in this trinity are meant. When this is confessed without guile, we need not dally over words. But I have long since and repeatedly been experiencing that all who persistently quarrel over words nurse a secret poison. As a consequence, it is more expedient to challenge them deliberately than speak more obscurely to please them.